Welcome, children, to English class. Here I am going to conclude chapter 6 on the face of it from your Vistas book. This play is written by Susan Hill. Now let's start the explanation. Daddy, only Mr. Lamb, like a bomb, only blew up my leg. There is worse things can happen. You can burn yourself away inside. Daddy was surprised to get this word. Only his face was burned. However, the boy was surprised to get this note. How Mr. Lamb was easily saying that acid only burnt his face, as the boy's whole life turned to be like hell due to this acid burning. Here, Mr. Lamb gave his affirmation by saying that just like in the bomb explosion, only his leg had blown off. But there could be more worse things could happen in the war. However, he suggested the boy that one could burn himself up from the inside by creeping the negative feelings inside his body. So, he wanted to advise the boy that he should not breathe the negativity by getting this accident, as the acid had only burnt his external part of the face. His whole body is still safe and sound. After I'd come home, one person said he would have been better off stopping in there in the hospital. He would be better off with others like himself. She thinks blind people only ought to be with other blind people and idiot boys with idiot boys. Moreover, at this point, once again, Terry narrated another incident about the time when he returned back home after meeting with the accident. He said he heard someone was saying that the boys like him would have been better to stay in the hospital with the other people like him, as nobody was liking his ugly burnt face. That's why they made such comment. He further added that the people think that all the disabled people should be kept together at one place, just like the blind people should be kept together with other blinds, and the senseless boys should be kept with the silly and foolish boys. Mr. Lamb and people with no legs all together. Daddy, that's all right. Here, Mr. Lamb objected that what did the boy mean to say? That the people without legs should be also kept together. To this, Daddy agreed. He said that all the people like should be kept and remain together. Mr. Lamb, what kind of a world would that be? Now, to this suggestion, Mr. Lamb objected. He said how the world would look like. It would create the imbalance in the world. That means the world would look much ugly if this would happen really in the life. There at least there would be nobody to stare at your face. You were not like them. Now to this Daddy replied that in this condition there would be no one to stare or gaze at your face, because all the people would look similar, so there would be no difference between them. Mr. Lamb, so you think you're just the same as all the other people with burnt faces just by what you look like? Ah, everything is different. Everything is the same, but everything is different itself. However, Mr. Lamb here contradicts the view of this boy. He asks the boy, what did he think? That he was like all the other people with the burnt faces just because they had similar looks? He further asks the boy that everything was different. He further added, though he would be looking same, but still there is difference between the people and everything is different. Here he means to say that though the looks of the people could be same, but still there is difference between the people and in their temperaments. So we cannot estimate anybody's character or their behavior by just looking their looks. Daddy, how do you make all that out? Now to hear his words once again, the boy was surprised and amazed. He asked Mr. Lamb how he could make out such a beautiful thoughts in the life. Mr. Lamb, watching, listening, thinking, he replied, it is his habit of watching, listening, and thinking that make him different from the others. Daddy, I would like a place like this, a garden. I would like a house with no curtains. Mr. Lamb, the gate's always open. Now, at this point, we come to know the boy was becoming more frank by Mr. Lamb. He started now speaking frankly about his own habits and likings with Mr. Lamb. He told him that he liked the house and the garden of Mr. Lamb. He expressed he also wanted such house without curtains. To this, Mr. Lamb replied that who had denied the boy could come any time, as the gate of his house is always open for everyone. Daddy, but this is not mine. Mr. Lamb, everything is yours if you want it. What's mine is anybody's. To this, Daddy said he knew it. The house was not his. Mr. Lamb here replied that everything was his if he wanted it to be. That means he wanted to say that if boy wanted to have the possession of this house, he could have. He said that all his possessions, his house and the garden, they were for everyone. Daddy, so I could come here again. Even if you were out, I could come here. Mr. Lamb, certainly you might find others here. Of course. Oh. However, the boy here inquired from Mr. Lamb whether he could visit its place again. To this, Mr. Lamb replied, of course, the boy could come any time. He was welcome in his house and in his garden. Nobody could stop him. Whether he would find the other people in his house still, he could come. Daddy, oh, Mr. Lamb, well, that need not stop you. You need not mind. He also suggested the boy that there is no need to bother about the presence of the other people in his house. He should come without any reluctance. Daddy, it stopped them. They would mind me. When they saw me here, they look at my face and run. To this, Daddy mentioned that probably the people won't like him to enter in this place. They would stop me. They won't bother me. If they would saw Daddy in the house, they would get scared by looking at his face and run away. That's why he felt that he could not visit the place in his absence. In other words, he meant to say. Daddy replied, probably they won't like his coming in the garden. They would stop him. And after looking at his ugly face, they would get scared and would surely run away. Mr. Lamb, they might not. You would have to take the risk. So would they. At this point, Mr. Lamb replied that they might or might not. It was not sure. But the boy had to make effort. he had to take the chance on that. And the same, the people had to. They had to give you the chance. Daddy, no, you would. You might have me and lose all your other friends because nobody wants to stay near me if they can help it. Here, Daddy gave the warning to Mr. Lamb that he could not do so, as if he would take the chance. Then he had to make the choice between the people and the boy, as no one liked the company of this ugly faced boy. And in the condition, if Mr. Lamb would keep the company of Daddy, then he had to lose all his other friends. Mr. Lamb, I've not moved. Daddy, no. Here, Mr. Lamb, he suggested the boy that he was not. This Mr. Lamb clarified that he didn't have the fear of losing the friends by keeping the company of this boy. So he was not moved by listening the words of the boy. Again, the boy was not agreeing at this point with Mr. Lamb. Mr. Lamb, when I go down the street, the kids shout, "Leave me, Lamb." But they still come into the garden, into my house. It's a game. Leave me, Lamb. Here, this is a comment made for Mr. Lamb. Lemmy stands for here one-legged person. And the children, they have given this nickname for Mr. Lamb. Here Mr. Lamb tried to make this boy understand the true meaning of the life. He explained that whenever he went down into the street, the small children used to shout at him and made the comment with the words, "Lemmy Lamb." Lamb means one-legged person. So he said they comment on me and teased me with such names. But he said he never mind. And still, the children, they were coming into his garden and they were enjoying this and they think and took this like a game. They are not afraid of me. Why should they be? He informed that the children are not afraid of him. And why? There was a need to get afraid. Because I'm not afraid of them. That's why not. He said he was equally not scared of the children. So that's why they are so not afraid of him. Daddy, did you get your leg blown off in the war? Mr. Lamb, certainly. However, here the boy became sympathetic for Mr. Lamb. He asked him about his injury. He inquired whether Mr. Lamb had got his leg injured during the war times. To this, the old man replied, "Yes, he did so." "Daddy, how will you climb on a ladder and get the crab apples down then?" However, the boy showed more concern for the old man. He inquired how the old man got. Showing his concern for Mr. Lamb, that he asked how did Mr. Lamb climb up the ladder to pluck the crab apples down. Crab apples, already told you the meaning. So these are the small, sour apples. Mr. Lamb, "Oh, there is a lot of things I've learned to do and plenty of time for it. Years, I take it steady." Steady means regular. To this, Mr. Lamb replied that he was now able to do a lot of things. He learned to do them, though he had to spend a plenty of time for this. And thus, with the practice over the year, he was able to manage with his handicap and was now able to pluck the apples by himself. Thus, with the regular and routine practice, he was able to pluck the apples by himself. Daddy, if you fell and broke your neck, you could lie on the grass and die if you were on your own. To this, the boy again showed his concern and took pity on old man and asked that if Mr. Lamb would do this work alone, any moment he could meet with the accident and could fall down and break his neck. And in the accident, he could meet with his death if he would do this work alone. Mr. Lamb, I could. Mr. Lamb approved that there was a possibility of his death if he would fall down from the ladder. Daddy, you said I could help you. So here, Daddy once again offered his help to Mr. Lamb. That should he help the man in his work? Mr. Lamb agreed for this. Daddy, but my mother will want to know where I am. It's 3 miles home across the field. I am 14, but they still want to know where I am. When Mr. Lamb got ready to accept the help from the boy, he said that he had to inform his mother because she always got worried and wanted to know about his whereabouts. And also, his house is 3 miles away from this garden, and his house, it was across the field. And he was still young and 14 years old. And but still, he said, my parents, they got worried about me. So I had to intimate about my. He said that he was now grown up and was 14 years of age, but still his parents wanted to know about his whereabouts. He was supposed to tell that where he was going. Mr. Lamb, people worry. People first. Mr. Lamb, go back and tell them. Worry means to be anxious about. First, that means to pay much attention to the unimportant things. Mr. Lamb added that people had the habit of worrying. Daddy replied that actually his parents were in the habit of fussing, that they do too much importance on the unimportant things in the life. Rather, Mr. Lamb here agreed and asked the boy to go home and inform his mother about his whereabouts. Daddy, it's 3 miles. Mr. Lamb, it's a fine evening. You've got legs. However, the boy complained that his house was 3 miles away. It was quite at the distance. To this, Mr. Lamb tries to infuse the feelings of positivity and said that the boy had got the 2 legs and it was quite warm evening, so he could easily go and inform his parents. Daddy, once I got home, they would never let me come back. Mr. Lamb, once you got home, you would never let yourself come back. However, here Daddy said that once he would go home, he won't be given permission to return back here. To this, the old man replied that once the boy would go back home, he was sure he won't let himself confine himself there in his own home, and definitely he would return back. Daddy, you don't know. You don't know what I could do. Mr. Lamb, no, only you know that. Daddy, if I choose. Mr. Lamb, if you choose, I don't know everything, boy. I can't tell you what to do. Now here at this point, Daddy said that Mr. Lamb did not know what all the boy could do. Mr. Lamb also agreed. He said only the boy Daddy knew what he could do in his life. So here Daddy started to say that if he would choose, that means he wanted to say here it depends upon his own choice, that if he would agree and he would make his mind to come back, so surely he would come. But here he was interrupted by Mr. Lamb. He said that Daddy had to make the choice and he could not tell him what to do. That means the old man could not surely confirm what the boy could do in the life. It depends only on the boy to make the decision. Daddy, they tell me, Mr. Lamb, do you have to agree? Daddy, I don't know What I want something no one else has got or ever will have. Something just mine. Like this garden. I don't know what it is. Here, Daddy informed Mr. Lamb that his family always forced him to do the things in their own way. Mr. Lamb said it was Daddy's wish to agree with them or not. Daddy was confused here about what he wanted in the life. He wanted something that was only his and no one had it in the life, like this garden of Mr. Lamb. But he complained still. He did not have any idea what he exactly wanted in the life. Mr. Lamb, you could find out. Daddy, how? Mr. Lamb advised the boy that he could make out what he really wanted. That means he could make search of what he exactly wanted in the life. Daddy asked that how he could do that, how he could know that what exactly he wanted. Mr. Lamb waiting, watching, listening, sitting here or going there. I will have to see to the bees. However, Mr. Lamb excited the boy by saying that he should also wait, watch, and listen to the things and know what he exactly wanted in the life. He suggested the boy to sit here in the garden and go around and could make out. Then he informed the boy that he was going after the bees of his garden. Daddy, those other people who come here, do they talk to you? Ask you things? Now here, Daddy became inquisitive to know about the other visitors which were coming into Mr. Lamb's garden. He asked whether the people who came in his garden, they used to talk to him and inquire about the things. Mr. Lamb, some do, some don't. I asked them. I like to learn. To this, Mr. Lamb replied that some did, while some did not. But rather, he used to inquire about them and used to like to learn about everything of those people. Daddy, I don't believe in them. I don't think anybody ever comes. You are here all by yourself and miserable. No one would know if you were alive or dead, and nobody cares. Here, the boy doubted about all the saying of Mr. Lamb. He said that he did not believe that there is any visitor in the garden of Mr. Lamb. He said nobody came here in his garden, and the old man lived all by himself there in this big house and was leading a very miserable life. And he said that even he doubted that nobody even bothered whether Mr. Lamb was dead or alive. And no one bothered about this old man. Mr. Lamb, you think what you please. This, Mr. Lamb replied calmly that it is up to Daddy. So whatever is pleased to him, he could think. He could not stop him. Daddy, all right then, tell me some of their names. Mr. Lamb, what are names? Tom, Dick or Harry? Now here, Daddy agreed with Mr. Lamb, but he inquired about the names of the visitors. To this, Mr. Lamb replied that the names meant nothing. He said it could be any person like Tom, Dick or Harry. Getting up, I'm off down to the bees. Then he informed the boy that he was going now to see the bees in his garden. Daddy, I think you're daft, crazy. Mr. Lamb, that's a good excuse. Daft, that means insensible or mad. Here, Daddy blamed Mr. Lamb that he was really a mentally challenged man. That means he was mad. This time, the boy was joking with Mr. Lamb. Mr. Lamb also replied in the same mood to the boy. He also funnily replied to the boy that it was the good excuse not to visit his garden and to come back to join in his work. Daddy What for? You don't talk sense. So he asked the old man, so what for? He was making excuse all the time. He said, the old man said, nonsense. Mr. Lamb, good excuse not to come back. And you've got a burnt up face. And that's the other people's excuse. This moment, Mr. Lamb repeated that it was really a good excuse for the boy for not returning back to his garden. He said it would be because the boy had got the burnt face. And the same, the people had their own excuses for not coming back in his garden. He further said that in fact the boy had the ugly face and all the time he blamed other people's of getting afraid of him. In fact, he did not want to give him help and come back there. Daddy, you are like the others. You like to say things like that. If you don't feel sorry for my face, you are frightened of it. And if you are not frightened, you think I'm ugly as a devil. I am a devil, don't you? Shouts. One, Mr. Lamb blamed that the burnt face of Daddy was just an excuse. However, Daddy got infuriated to get this blame that he was using his face as an excuse. So he also blamed Mr. Lamb that he was also like other people. There was no difference of him than the other people. He again asked that if a person was not asking about his face, that means he was afraid of him. And if someone was not afraid of him, that means that he was thinking that the boy was ugly as a devil. And he agreed here and he claimed that really he was a real devil. He shouted, saying all these words, but this moment he was not feeling neglected or ridiculed by the society, as they had got the transformation in the thinking of this boy now. Mr. Lamb does not reply. He's gone to his bees. Daddy quietly, no, you don't. I like it here. Pause. Daddy gets up and shouts, I'm going, but I will come back. You see, you wait. I can run. I've not got a 10 leg. I will be back. At this moment, Mr. Lamb did not reply anything to the boy. He had gone to see the bees. This moment, Daddy was pacified and was calm. But he said, Mr. Lamb, that he should not think so. He said he liked to be in Mr. Lamb's garden. After saying this, Daddy got up and shouted he was leaving now. But that he was going to return back again to see Mr. Lamb. He made fun of 10 leg of Mr. Lamb. He said he could run. He did not have the 10 leg like Mr. Lamb. And very soon Mr. Lamb should wait. He was going to come back here again. Daddy runs off, silence the sounds of the garden again. When Daddy left the garden, then the place became silent and there was the normal sounds of the surroundings of the garden over there. Once again, that means there was no one except Mr. Lamb in the garden now. Children, this is the only part of the play where you would get reflection. This man who was making show of his optimism before this disfigured boy is himself suffering from loneliness and disappointment. When Daddy assured Mr. Lamb he would definitely coming back to assist the old man in his work, then he was left to himself. He started talking to the bees in his garden. Addressing the bees, he said that the bees were observing and they were witnessing what was happening with this old man. They only knew that everyone promised with this old man to come back and to give him company. But in fact, no one ever returned back to the garden to give the company to this old man. Then suddenly, the disturbing sounds of the garden stopped. And with this, section 1 is finished. Scene 2, Dairy's house. So, with this now, there began the second scene in the story. So, setting is of Dairy's house here. Mother, you think I don't know about him. You think I've not heard things. Now, here we find that Dairy's mother was scolding the boy and asking what Dairy was thinking. She said that she was already informed about Mr. Lamb. She knew everything about the old man. Dairy, you should not believe all you hear. As the mother was doubting about the nature of Mr. Lamb, Dairy now explained to the mother that she should not listen to the other people saying. He meant that the mother should not believe what others were saying wrong about. Mother, being told, warned, we have not lived here 3 months, but I know what there is to know, and you are not to go back there. However, the mother here gave the warning to the boy that she knew what was required to be known about the persons, and therefore she asked him not to go back there. She said already he had been told and warned many times, but still the boy was not listening. Dairy, what are you afraid of? What do you think he is? An old man with a tin leg, and he lives in a huge house without curtains and has a garden. And I want to be there and sit and listen to things. Listen and look. Dairy here inquired about the reason of the mother's fear. He told her that Mr. Lamb was just an old man with a tin leg and had a big house without curtains and a big garden. He insisted that he wanted to be there and he wanted to go back and listen to the things and really wanted to listen. And look over there. Mother, listen to what? Dairy bee is singing, him talking. To this, the mother became excited to know what was it that the boy wanted to listen over there. He replied he wanted to hear the singing of the bees there and wanted to listen to that man, what he used to say. He wanted to listen the talks of Mr. Lamb. Mother, and what is he got to say to you? Dairy, things that matter, things nobody else has ever said, things I want to think about. Once again, the mother intended to know that what the old man wanted to say to the small boy. To this, Dairy replied. However, the boy replied, Mr. Lamb wanted to elaborate about the things that really matters in our lives and about which nobody else has ever said him in his life, and the things about which he really wanted to give the thinking. He really wanted to have the learning about the things which the man wanted to tell him. That means he was interested to listen about the true meaning of life, elaborated by Mr. Lamb. That's why he wanted his company. Mother, then you stay here and do you thinking your best of here. But the mother did not find it suitable what now arguments were given by the boy. She gave the warning to Dairy that better he should stay at home, and if he only wanted to think, he should better think by staying at his own home there. Dairy, I hate it here. Once again, Dairy protested and said he hated to stay at home. Mother, you can't help the things you say. I forgive you. It is bound to make you feel bad things and say them. I don't blame you. Moreover, to get his reply, the mother did not react. She simply tells the boy that he is bound to say such things because he was tutored by the old man to say such terrible things. That's why she was not blaming the boy to say such bad words. Daddy, it's got nothing to do with my face and what I look like. I don't care about that. It is not important. It is what I think and feel and what I want to see and find out and hear. Here, Daddy replied to the mother that he had understood now that it had got nothing with his face. Rather, it is disfigured. And how did he look? He did not bother about his ugly face, as it was not important in the life. The thing that matters in the life is our thinking and feeling, and how he said we had to find and see the things in the life. That's why he said he wanted to see and make search and hear about the things which really matters in our life. And I'm going back there only to help him with the crab apples, only to look at things and listen. But I am going. As children, we have come to know. Now the transformation has begun in the boy. He strongly said that he also wanted to see and make search and hear the things which really are important in the life. That's why he was going to meet Mr. Lamb to learn about everything. He said that he was going to assist that old man in picking the crab apples from the trees, and then he would learn from him how to look at the things and listen. That means he also want to watch, listen and think and wanted to live the life like Mr. Lamb. That's why he declared to the mother that he was going back to Mr. Lamb in his garden. Mother, you will stop here. Daddy, oh no, because if I don't go back there, I will never go anywhere in this world again. Thus, the boy finally declared that he was going back into the garden to help Mr. Lamb. But the mother again tried to stop the boy, but he ran away by saying if he did not go back there, he could not get anything in life and could ever go anywhere in the world again. The door slams, Daddy runs, panting, and I want the world. I want it. I want it. Panting, that means to breathe heavily. Hence, the boy shut the door and started running. Thus, Daddy started running, though was breathing heavily. He was running because he did not want that anyone should stop him for going into Mr. Lamb's garden. He was repeating the words. He wanted the word. He wanted it. He wanted it. And with this, the sound of the breathing, it also got disappeared. Scene 3. Mr. Lamb's garden. Garden sounds. The noise of a branch shifting. Apples thumping down. The branch shifting again. Shifting, that means changing. Thumping down, that means falling with a loud, dull sound. Here, the final scene of the play began. So, this is again the scene of Mr. Lamb's garden. Here was heard the sound of the branches shifting, and with that, the sound of falling down of the apples were heard. Mr. Lamb, steady, got it, that's it. More apples fall, and again, that's it. And a creak, a crash, the ladder falls back. Mr. Lamb with it, a thump, the branch swishes back, creaks, then silence. Daddy opens the garden gate, still panting. Steady, means continue or stable. Creak, that is a harsh sound of wood. Swish, that is a hissing sound. Panting, that means quick breathing sound. Now, here in the garden, Mr. Lamb was talking to himself while plucking the apples from the tree. Suddenly, there was the harsh sound of the cracking of the wood. And with this, there was a sound of the ladder falling down on the ground. And with that, Mr. Lamb also fell down. Then Terry opened the gate and he was still breathing rapidly. Daddy, you see, I came back. You said I would not. And they said, but I came back. I wanted. He stopped dead. Silence, Mr. Lamb. Mister, you have. Now, on his entry, Terry started calling for the name of Mr. Lamb. He informed that he had promised to come back. That's why he was there. He said even the people stopped him. But still he was there. He wanted to get this world. That's why he was there. But suddenly he spotted something strange there in the garden and stopped. He tried to awaken Mr. Lamb. He runs to the grass, stops, kneels. Mr. Lamb, it's all right. You fell. I'm here. Mr. Lamb, it's all right. Kneels means bend down. Now, while kneeling down, Daddy tried to awaken Mr. Lamb, but he was not moving. He again called Mr. Lamb, but still there was no response. He said that it was all right, that he had fallen down, but still he was all right. But still there was no reply from Mr. Lamb. I came back, Lammy Lamb, I did. Come back. Daddy begins to weep. Thus, Daddy kept on calling the name of Mr. Lamb and suddenly realized that his friend was no more in the world. Then he started crying. He understood that Mr. Lamb was dead now. With this, the curtain falls and the play ended with the pathetic note. Though Mr. Lamb was no more in the life, but we are sure that changes would come in Daddy's attitude towards life. He won't revert back to his secluded and lonely life. He would also enjoy the life to the fullest, like Mr. Lamb. Hence, the optimism instilled by Mr. Lamb was going to take Daddy to come out of his shell and face the world confidently and with full happiness. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you have well understood the explanation. For all your doubts and queries, you can make call or text me.